Okay, I wanted to say a few words on the problem of letting go, which is often also referred to as forgiveness. The idea of letting go, when placed within the framework of what I've developed, which I call the stairway, the 7 steps, is that at the bottom of the stairway, what we find is that we're too close, and the second step is step back, and step back means that which is another word of saying letting go. And letting go, stepping back means that we step back from what you call the first person perspective. Um, the first person perspective is actually when we are, as it were, caught in looking at the world, while the third person perspective is actually when we are looking at ourselves, looking at the world. And in video gaming, you have that difference between the first person, when you are, as it were, not seeing yourself, but just the game shows the surrounding of the player, and the third person is when we're looking at ourselves within the surrounding. So letting go is actually based on that, where we step back from the first person perspective, and then we get the third person, and the third step is called, in my stairway, reflect. And reflect means that we start to look at ourselves, looking at the world. It's or we which is a kind of a self-referential loop. It's like thinking about our own thinking, or looking at our own self, looking at things. So it's, as it were, where the looked and the looker become one, because then the looker is looking at himself or herself looking. So that's basically what it means, this idea of letting go. It's not the idea of the idea of just forgetting and letting bygones be bygones and all of that. As a matter of fact, the idea of forgiving is not forgetting. The idea of letting go means that I step back from being too close, and I gain a third person perspective. The self, which comes after the reflection, is the third person perspective. The higher self is the perceives out of the third person perspective, which is why it is actually an out of body perspective, if you wish. So this is what you find in near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences, which is actually, so what we are doing is actually creating that experience with this technique, where we, by reflecting, by, for instance, realizing that what I am looking at out there is not reality, but the way I am interpreting it. What I am doing is I'm getting out of the thought, and I am observing the thought, as it were, and then not the thought as something that says something about the world as such, but more as saying something about me. So the reflective mode, which is the mode where we let go of that being too close, or that first person perspective, that mode takes us to a whole nother channel of reality, or level of existence. And this is what letting go really means. And of course, when we place it in that, in this context of the journey, or the stairway, then of course the idea of letting go becomes to let go and let God, as they say, meaning let the self, with a capital S, manage the process. You see, and then when we reflect, it's, you're too close, step 1. Step 2 is step back, reflect, relax. And then the relaxing means that we in that still point, where there's no more oscillatory, there's no vibration in terms of polarity. And then we go into to another level, which is the self, in the silence of the relaxation, then we, as they say, we hear the voice that makes no sound, which is the higher self. And it's that higher self that is able and equipped to navigate what I would call the quantum landscape, or the field of infinite possibilities, which is where we find miracles. And the tail, at this level we go, when we connect to the self, which is the third person perspective, that is like the hub to this quantum internet web, where we, as it were, telepathically collaborate and connect to others, forming these groups, which are like ascension groups. And these groups together download this new tale, which is a new landscape, a new reality. And it's the self that is able to navigate that quantum landscape, if you wish. And in that vision we believe, which is what powers the miracles, which is the downloading or the unfolding of this new tale, or true purpose, in terms of miracles or little miracles or synchronicities. And we find this very much, for instance, in the 11th insight of the Celestial Prophecy. Because this is what we have, those of us that have been letting go and ascending, because you ascend in terms of vibration, vibratory ray. This is the common vision that we have been encountering. So it's in the other day I was coaching the swimming selection of and there's this young man that is like the best of the island, and when I was explaining to him the idea of the zone, which is this still point where we are in perfect relaxation, and he shared that he felt he was once in that zone, and what he saw was that he was above his own body, and he was looking down at his own body swimming, and that was his best performance he felt ever. And the other day I myself was playing tennis, and I was at the point of going to hit the ball. For some reason or the other, I looked up and I saw a light above my head, like a few feet above, and I could actually hear it. It made like a sound, and that was the self, the higher self. So this is not metaphorical. The whole idea of stepping back, which is often what we refer to as forgiving or letting go, is to gain that reflective mode, which connects us to the self. And the self is what is able to, which the self is wired to this land of infinite possibilities. And that is where we truly live, exist, as it were. That's where the spiritual being in us lives, and then we connect thus to who we truly are. So this is, I think, a little explanation of what it really means, to what letting go really means. A lot of these concepts have a deeper meaning, a more esoteric meaning, if you wish, than the idea of that is sometimes understood by it. But in a very literal sense, what we get is that what we see around us is a society that is totally too close to everything, which is what you find then is, as it were, addictions, where we cannot literally let go. We cannot live without something we believe, because we believe that thing is going to make us feel better or help us, while the self with a capital S, which lives in that parallel dimension, if you wish, doesn't need anything. You see, that's why we're in almost all of the problems in society at the moment are actually based on addictions, be it crime or abuse or corruption. And this is because we have materialism, either clinging to something, while in the letting go and letting God, letting self, that's when you become a free agent. And then it's not that you do not enjoy it. To the contrary, you can enjoy everything a lot more because you're not clinging to it. And it's almost like the joy of driving a car that is as it were a rental car or a leased car, which is not, you don't have to really care about if you hit it, or, and it's in that state of freedom, mental freedom, emotional freedom, that which I call being a free agent, that we are really in our true being. We were meant to be free agents, free souls. And this is, I think, what this stairway, if you wish, or this, because I have a video called The Stairway to Heaven, which also touches on these steps, but which this one goes a little bit deeper into the first stages. But this is what the evolution of man was meant to be, which is to become back a spiritual being, which is actually to free ourselves from this level of vibration